Putting here. Okay, so we're excited to be here. Thank you, Andy. This is so wonderful to be able to connect and to be able to provide some really great content of, attracting leaders. And I would say Andy himself has definitely been a really good example of this. And we want to kind of dive into some good question and answer, and we can both kind of share some tips and tricks and advice on how we are being effective with finding new builders. And I think the number one question comes up is, how do we even get out and start finding them? And my first thought is, and I'm going to let you take, some time, Andy, too, is before we can even find the right builders we want to partner with long term, I think we have to start looking into where we are personally.
Mm-hmm. Totally.
So diving into the, Brené Brown and some of the good aspects from Dare to Lead and all of that good content, where is the best place we start when it comes to finding leaders, but going into ourselves first?
I love it. Well, thank you so much for having me, Michelle. It's an honor, and we've been huge fans of yours since we've known about you, and we love connecting with you at the Bloom Presidential Summit. So super excited to be here and dive into this.
Yes.
So do you want me to share my thoughts and then you share yours?
Yeah. Awesome.
Okay. So I 100% agree with you that attracting leaders is, first of all, it's the highest value activity that we do in doTERRA. Natalie and I have worked with a lot of coaches and mentors, and a lot of times they ask that question, like, what's the one thing that moves the needle more than anything else in your business, right? What's the most leveraged activity there is? And it's attracting leaders. It's finding builders. It's developing people into builders and into leaders. So that's hands down the highest value activity. So the question is, how do you do it? How do you get it done? And clearly, there's no one silver bullet, right? So a lot of people start out as customers and they become builders. So I think it's important for us to not ignore the base of customers that we have on our teams, because they might be our best candidates, right? People who are already converted to the product, they're loving doTERRA's oils, they're loving the life, all the benefits that they're getting in their life from doTERRA's products. So that's the first pool that I like to look at. But outside of your customers, I would say the most crucial thing is to get clear on who it is that you're looking for. And I don't know if you've ever talked about builder avatars. I know Elisa's done some trainings around that. But getting really clear on what does a builder even mean to you? I talk to a lot of people who say, oh, if I just had, if I could just partner with somebody who shared oils sometimes, that would be really nice. And I'm like, really? Like that's the level of clarity that you have? Like what do you really want? Like, are you doing this as a hobby or is this a business for you? So if this is a business, then let's treat it like a business. So if you were hiring a top sales exec and a marketing professional, would you just kind of hope, cross your fingers that it's someone who kind of likes to share sometimes? Absolutely not. You would be crystal clear. You would have a job description. You would have experience that you're looking for, and probably not only a demographic, but also a psychographic, meaning like what's important to this person, what's what are their core needs, what are the things that they look for in a business. And so the more clarity that you have around that builder avatar, the better you're going to attract it. So I love the saying that clarity leads to certainty, and certainty leads to power. So if you want to create a powerful residual income, if you want to have a powerful doTERRA business, then get clear, right? Get clear on what it is you want, and take whatever time it takes to be so clear that you can lead with certainty. People don't just buy the doTERRA products; they're buying your certainty. So clarity, certainty, power, and then making that builder avatar, I think is step number one.
Absolutely. And you see too how, you know, I think we find ourselves in this place of leadership where, you know, we're really, really wanting these leaders and we're really, really wanting to take off. But so often we get so focused on that we're forgetting about even developing our own skill. When, you know, us as leaders, we may feel like, okay, we've been working, but we're not seeing the results we're doing. And I love that because even just like, I'm sure at the beginning of your business with doTERRA, you know, you've had other stuff before, but before doTERRA, it kind of forces us to have to grow or else we're not going to attract people. And I, you know, like you, we hear all the time, you know, if I had that power horse leader, then I'd be able to move forward faster. Well, of course we would, because that's, and you know, the dream that we want to create. But you know, that saying, and I think even Brené Brown talks about this too, is we're attracting where we're at, right? What comes into our life is kind of where we're at. Right. So how do we bump that up as far as personal development goes?
In one of her books, she says, who you are is how you lead. Mm. Like, I've never heard someone put it so succinctly. Like, that's so concise and powerful. Basically, like if you're just a hot mess, if you have all this victim energy and you're just complaining about this and that, what are your chances of partnering with a new rock star builder in doTERRA? Zero, right? Like they, if there's no energetic space, you know, everything is energy, and energy doesn't lie. So if you have all these projects that you're running, if you have all these problems that you're managing, if your emotional world is just a whirlwind, then let's say you did meet that potential builder who was perfect and the timing was perfect for them, they are not going to see an opening in your world for them to step in and partner with you. All they're going to see is the hot mess. And that's so absolutely getting your emotional world clear and getting free of the baggage is number one. That's the first step in attracting builders.
I love that. You know, I read the other day in this book, I thought it was just me. It's probably one of my favorites. I do love Dare to Lead, but this is, I think, a little even more up my alley, just understanding that we are enough. And us as women, I'm sure men too, but us as women feel that little bit of sometimes we doubt ourselves. And I think it's normal. But focusing in here, you know, the greatest way to lead somebody like in this business is by first learning how to lead yourself. And I thought, you know, just looking into that, how do we look at that? And when we look at where our builders are at, which is leading right into the next question, when we look ourselves right now, where are our builders at right now? Do we have some who are struggling? Do we have some who are really going full force? Then put yourself in that time frame of when we're spending time with these people, where are we personally is also going to reflect their outcome. So as builders in this business, how can we rise up builders after we know the step of working on leadership, we know the step of growing personally, but as we're working with our builders who are trying to lead their teams, what would you say, and we can both answer this, what would you say is your number one step of advice to help your leaders bring up leaders? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Is that a good question? It's kind of a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, basically what we're talking about is how do you duplicate the clarity, first of all, right? How do you train people to get clear on what they want? And then second, how do you duplicate the energetic clarity that comes when we raise up and, you know, we learn how to release a lot of the baggage and we create emotional space and energetic space in our world. So I mean, I know this sounds cliche, but the best way to duplicate that is to be that, right? Just be open about the breakthroughs that you're having. Be really open and vulnerable about blocks that you've had, how you're dealing with them. Maybe you're not on the other side yet. Maybe you're still in the middle of a dark spot. Just be open and clear about that and give yourself permission to be imperfect. And guess what happens? You've just given all of your team and your builders and leaders permission to do the same. So if they can be clear, if they can move on, then just show the way. Just lead the way. But I'm curious what you would say. What have you found is the best way to duplicate raising leaders?
Yeah, you know what? It's interesting because, about a year ago, I was struggling a lot, and it was even just like outside of doTERRA business. Like this was just like personal life and things going on with family that I really did find myself really a lack of taking care of myself. And what was happening is when I literally put myself back a year ago, I was not bringing on builders. I was not attracting anybody. I brought on customers who were really desperate for, which isn't a bad thing, but desperate for the tools and support. But I wasn't bringing any builders in. And it was my first indicator that, shoot, like this isn't okay if I really want to move forward in this business. And so just the simple act of being dedicated to self-growth and self-development has been massive for me, because whether I look at it like this, whether you have some builders who, don't invest in themselves and they're not moving forward, if you are, whether they come with you or not, if say they don't want to and they're still stuck in their place, you literally have room to be teaching new people, and it's exciting again. And so my thing is, if you're not excited in this business, you cannot duplicate this business. And when we look at it as work, like, oh, this is such hard work. Yes, it's hard. But is it enjoyable? Everything we're doing has a purpose for why we're doing it. Then yeah, you start to duplicate that leadership ability, and people say, look, I can be dedicated, but I don't have to be exhausted in this business, Yeah. And that's kind of been, honestly, been able to see more people flow in who are ready to do the business, not ready to be held for years and years and years, still can't figure out what to do, right? Because we're different people. So that self-development, I'd say it's Renee Brown's information that's brought in a lot of clarity for me this last year. Huge clarity. And I think everybody could benefit from listening to all of her stuff or reading all of her stuff. It's just unbelievable.
So I wanted to ask you a question when it comes to finding builders and leaders. So you enroll a lot of people. Like you're a high roller when it comes to enrollments, right?
Yes.
But when it comes, if you were to narrow down just the builders that you've enrolled, like you're qualifying builders, where did they come from? Were they warm market? Was it from your warm market, or was it cold market? And I actually ran the numbers while you're thinking about that. Maybe I'll just share some of our statistics.
Yeah.
And I also want to ask you, what did you share with them? Did you start with product, or did you start with the business?
Okay.
So I'll just share some of our stats while you're running your numbers.
Yep.
So as I looked across our front line, we probably have 13 on our front line that we're working with on both our main account and our M1 account. Of those 13, 60% came from our warm market. So these were people that we knew, that we loved, that we looked at them and we thought to ourselves, I would love to work with them. Like these are people who, if there was an incentive trip, they're the ones we'd want to be on the beach with. If there was a chance to do an event together, we'd want to do an event with them. Like we want to do life with these people. So 60% came from our warm market. 20% came from our warm market's warm market. So does that make sense? It's like, it wasn't people we directly knew, but it was people they knew. And then another 20% came from our cold market. So there were just people who reached out to us, or we didn't know each other. It just came together. And then in terms of what did we share with these people, every single one of them was a one-on-one. That's how we connected with them. And every single one of them, we led with the business opportunity. So are we a product-focused company? Absolutely. Will that ever change? Not unless things go way off the rails, right? So we are first and foremost a product company, and that's why the opportunity works. But when it comes to finding builders, Natalie always asks the question, who would you love to work with? And so once you figure out who that list is, like hopefully you've always got an active names list. On that names list, when you ask yourself who you have to work with, what's the right message for them? Like if you're truly wanting to do a business with them, are you going to take 6 months just dripping product on them? I hope not. Like we just go front door and say, look, Natalie and I have big goals, big plans, and really big dreams. And there's no one we'd rather do that with than you. So we'd like to extend a personal invitation to you. Let's do this together. Like, let's go change the world. Let's go put a healer in every home. Let's go raise up leaders, and let's do it together. So I thought it was fascinating because I never really done the stats because we talked so much about teaching classes and leading with product. It didn't dawn on me until I did the numbers that every single one of our qualifying legs, we led with a business opportunity. So I'd love to hear some of your numbers, Michelle.
Yeah. So as I went through, 20% warm market, 10% my warm market, and 70% cold market is.
Wow. So total inverse.
Yep. I mean, kind of crazy numbers, but what I think is interesting as I'm looking through this, the very first thing that came to my mind is we now as a business, I don't know where people are. Everyone goes through their phases of business. Like, am I in this? To be honest, when I first started, this wasn't for money. This was because I needed something to do. But because of that, I held on to that for so long that how can I attract somebody who's doing this for money? I wasn't. And as I've shifted over this last year and a half of kind of growing, my first thought was confidence in yourself. When you can find that confidence, it's really easy to say, hey, guess what? This is what I'm doing. Are you ready to partner with me? And I'm way more open about that now. I think everybody has to take their time there. But when you put that into perspective, if we're approaching people as, look, you can just get this kit. It's great. When you run out, let me know. And they won't reorder. Or you can approach it like, look, I mean, this is prime opportunity. And your question that comes down to, how do I present it when I enroll people? I would say on average, out of the group of people I enroll, there's probably 3 to 4 new builders a month, which has been awesome, right? Now, how do we know how 100% committed and capable these builders are right away? We don't know until we see action. But I would say out of those, 1 to 2 decide, okay, yes, this is for me. The others decide I'm a sharer, which is fine. Everybody can kind of do what they want. But when we look at that, what's changed for me is how I present to when I talk to somebody, these oils are great and I'm excited to get you started, but the business opportunity is even more amazing. And if, I would love to share it with you, and getting that one-on-one time has been massive because a lot of times people don't even know about this as a business and we undersell ourselves for what we do. But approaching those people, for me with the cold market, not knowing, most of the builders that come and we finally meet in groups when we come to convention or leadership or, retreats, it's just not being afraid of what we do. And if we are afraid of doing this as a business, or if we're afraid to actually talk to somebody about this business, then we don't confidently stand behind the business. Yeah. I mean, that's just my opinion. I mean, I know everybody's got their thing, but we got to be confident enough in the business plan that when we present it, whether we're Blue Diamond, whether we're Premier, you have to be confident that it works. So when you present it, people feel that excitement and that enthusiasm behind what you do. And it's duplicatable because they're ready to feel good. They're ready to feel inspired like you do on a daily basis, Exactly. So I don't know, did that answer your question?
Yeah.
It got me thinking a lot of things, but anyway.
So you're saying that when you enrolled that 70%, it started with product, but then you also showed them the business opportunity as an equal offering or better.
Yep, absolutely.
Okay. Fascinating.
Yeah. So, and there's been those people in, local stuff here where I'm like, look, you got to sit down. I want to share this business with you. I think that is really easy. Not easy, but easier to do that. Like, I'm here in person, I'm sitting down talking with you. The hard part that we find online is that in the mentality of people saying, like us thinking they just want the product, it's not always true. A lot of people are searching for a better life. Outside of feeling better, they want to live better and make an income. And so holding that opportunity back and just thinking, oh, I got my enrollment for the month, or I got my few enrollments, now I feel good. Well, what's next for those enrollments then? We don't have to be getting those every month. We want to be duplicating and then getting more enrollments every single month,
Exactly.
But yeah, I've never looked at my stats that way before, but definitely it's 70% is a cold market for me, which is.
So what about your warm market, and the warm market? Did you lead with business or product?
There's a couple front lines that are business, couple are product,
okay,
and to business equally. So I think there's a good round, but what, statistically, as I'm looking at this and thinking about even like my own business, some of the ones where I do lead with business tend to be some more that kind of dive forward quicker, or kind of find that pace a little bit quicker, saying, look, I don't have to know everything about the oils in order to sell. Totally. So kind of given that time crunch, okay, learn these oils in the next couple of weeks, but we're diving right into teaching classes. I'll show you how simple this is, Totally. So keeping it simple too is huge, but I don't know, working on that clarity, personal clarity, makes it a lot easier to share the opportunity.
And you're spot on that when the more clear we are about what a solid offering we have, it's infinitely easier to get them to latch on to that energy and to run with us and to cast a vision and to open the doors of possibility, right? If we're making this really weak offering of, hey, I've heard this doTERRA thing, I've heard we can make some money. What do you think? Do you think we should try this? It's like, no, like,
yeah,
it's the belief. That's why the whole empowered success system is designed around belief levels. It's the more belief, the more certainty you have around each of those, the more influential you're going to be. And the more you're going to move your audience, whether it's 1 or 1,000.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. Just you saying that kind of leads me into one of these last questions, Andy, is I think oftentimes in doTERRA, we see some leaders who people know who they are, right? Because we've had an impact in some way, or we've shared, people know who the Goddards are. Okay. And when we look at some of these upcoming leaders, I think some of the first things people think is, well, I can never be these people. How am I going to find my voice and my space here? How do we help these young leaders that are rising now understand that, we all have our own different voice? And sometimes I notice, I don't know if you do, but that can hold people back or make people feel scared that, hey, I'm not this person, so I can't accomplish this, or I can't do this, and so I'm not going to be that, right?
Yeah, it's a great question. And I think a lot of it has to do with the reason they're telling themselves that story. I know that when I catch myself running that script of I can never be so-and-so, a lot of times it's because they have different strengths than I do. When I hear Laura Jacobs get on stage and talk about chemistry and how the oils interact with our body systems, my brain goes straight to, wow, that could never be me. And it won't ever be me. So I think there's some strengths envy that comes into play when people run that script. But I think the more common one, so to respond to that, I think the more we dive into what our strengths are and learn to cherish and celebrate and share those strengths, for what they are, the more powerful we all become. So that's how I respond if it's a strengths issue. Sometimes we're just beaten down. Sometimes we've been told that we're not enough, that we're just not made of the right stuff, and that we'll never amount to anything. And in those cases, I love what Stephen Covey said, that true leadership is seeing the worth and potential in somebody and conveying it so well that they come to see it themselves. So what do we do with people who feel empty inside, who feel worth less? we pour our vision, we pour our love, we pour our, we give them an experience with success, right? If they say, I can never be successful, we hold their hands and help them baby step into a success, and then we help them see the success. So it might be something as simple as getting their bottles open and having a positive oil experience. It might be as simple as sharing a sample with someone else. But that's the part of this business that I love the most, is helping see someone shift on the inside and fill a void that they've felt their whole lives around self-worth and feeling like they're not enough.
Yeah.
It's a sacred and a precious opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely. Seeing the value in every person that's in front of you, whether it's oils or business,
Totally.
I love that. Well, and going based off the strengths thing, it is easy to look at others and think, how on earth, right? Like for me, it's easy to look and be like, how have they taught so many in-person classes? Whereas the whole foundation of my business did start online, and it's like, you can still be duplicatable, not necessarily by what you do, because how you build exactly is not what I'm going to do. But at the end of the day, we both can achieve the same rank, the same goals, it's because we're stepping into what we are valuable at and good at, So I guess that kind of leads me into this last question. As we're working on, a ton of personal development, that's my biggest goal this year. Is I can't control what others do and don't do. I can control what I do personally, which is going to result in my success, right? Mm-hmm. That's my main theme this year, is no more controlling what's around me, but controlling my own success and determining that. What does that look like? But as we're diving into this new year, everybody's really eager and ready to find new builders and to rank up and to rise up, whatever their goals may be. What would you say? And we can both take turns answering this, because I haven't yet. I'm just from collecting the questions. What would you say are your top 3 things that you must do on a daily basis or weekly basis to maintain these results, or to get these results by the end of the year, whether it's looking for builders and moving up in rank and leveling up? Those are people's most exciting. Like, I can't wait till I hit silver. I can't wait till I get my 1500, or whatever that looks like for them.
Yeah. Well, I would say number 1 is create personal space. In fact, I was going to wait to share this, but I'm just going to share my screen. Can you see the quote here?
Yep.
So this quote by Brene Brown just rocks my world, that as leaders, we can either invest, a small amount of time into talking about our fears, talking about those darker emotions, the self-worth stuff and the mom issues and the dad issues, or we can squander an unreasonable amount of time trying to manage ineffective and unproductive behavior. So what this means to me is you can either have some awkward and hard moments and conversations and healing, or you can spin your wheels. And I see this over and over again. People thinking, well, if I just, as long as I'm doing my pipes, as long as I'm making my list and just pounding things out, then I'll be good. And they're a train wreck. Like they have issues in their family, they have issues in their team, they have all this emotional, tumult that just hijacks everything. And the fact is, if this is maybe the best efficiency tip of the century, go deal with this stuff. Go deep. I was just on a call this morning with this gal who's silver, and she feels like her upline is totally hijacking her team and reaching out and trying to support her builders, and it angers her and frustrates her. And I just told her straight out, let's get on the phone. Let's call her right now. Let's deal with this. And this has been dragging on for years, right? Like, whoa. I don't know if I don't think she'd take it the right way. I think it would trigger her. And I'm like, there's no time like the present. Let's do this.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact is, if we don't handle the emotional baggage, then it runs our life.
Yeah.
So that's tip number one is get your space clear. Do the healing work, go out and yell at a tree, write down your angry thoughts and burn the paper. Like there's a million roads to healing. But what a tragedy if we're trying to be the vehicle that heals the world and we ourselves are not healed in the process. So that's tip number one. Tip number two, do the pipes. Like it's not a hidden secret. I remember one of our team members, she was like, I just wish that the top leaders of the company would stop holding back the secret of how to find leaders. I wish that I could just get into that inner sanctum and find out like, what is it they're doing? And I'm like, it's not a secret.
Yeah.
There's no inner sanctum. It's the pipes. It's present. Yeah. It's prepare, invite, present, enroll, support for every single rank, for every single person. It's the same thing. So keeping an active names list might be the best kept secret in the company. Like we talk about it in the build guide, we hammer it home in the launch guide, but after that, we kind of don't talk about it. So, do I have an active names list? Heck yeah. And Natalie and I are constantly knocking out like, is it time for so-and-so? What about this person we just met on this last trip? And man, if you don't have an active names list, you're not serious about this business. So I guess I just have two tips. Those are my two. So what are yours, Michelle?
Yeah, I love that. The very first one is you're talking about personal space. My number one is creating confidence in yourself, no matter what phase of the business you are. Because it's funny, when we had hit blue last year to where we are now, right? Yes, I'm still blue and that's okay. But the confidence level was not increased the moment I hit blue. My confidence was increased when I worked on myself. And that the title didn't matter. And I think so often people get concerned that how can I attract big builders if I'm not a big builder yet? Yeah. But so creating confidence in yourself, but that's only going to come if you're committed to yourself first, which I think it's a great topic coming up to leadership this year. I'm sure it's going to be really covered by Rachel Hollis, and a lot of the good stuff is committing to yourself is number one. And then my number two is do what you expect your downline to do.
No.
And what I mean by that is, are you as, say, a gold, platinum, diamond leader still enrolling every month?
Yep.
Are you still teaching every month going into that pipes thing? Because I do see often, like, I wish my team would work. I wish, and it's not even my own organization, just other people I've talked with who are struggling with some of their leaders or whatever it might be, that they're wanting all these things to happen that aren't even being done by themselves personally. So it's reevaluating, what is your work ethic? Are you being very effective in your work ethic? Because if you are, you naturally should be duplicating that because of example, So that one was number two. And then my last number three is priorities. So many times, and I'm a mom with young kids, so many times I hear, and just even other leaders, like, it's so hard because I've got kids and I just don't have a lot of time. It's a priority. So if doTERRA is a priority to you, then you're going to make time for that meetup with that person or that phone call to go over the business. But if it's not a priority, it's going to keep getting shoved off, which in the long term of things, by the end of the year, you'll probably be exactly where you are still. So getting rid of things that don't move you forward and making doTERRA a priority, because if it's a priority, then it's going to work in your favor and you will be successful. So I'd say those are probably my top three for sure.
I love that. Can I just share a little story when you were talking about number two?
Yeah.
About the pipes. Michael Klaus came to one of the first doTERRA leadership events. He's written all these classics on network marketing. And he had, when he built his downline, he would call people, and it was, there was only one question that he asked them about, how many times have you told the company story? Which in, in doTERRA language, that's how many times did you teach the class, right? Like how many times did you introduce essential oils and what oils are to someone? And it's basically like in the pipes program, that's, the present. How many times did you present this week? And inevitably people would go into all these stories and oh, well, I started with so-and-so and, I tried to reach out. So he's like, and I love what his response was every time. He's like, I only have this little box on my form and I can't fit your story in there. So how many times did you tell the story? And I just love the image and the clarity that comes from that visual. At the end of the day, this still is a numbers game. And it doesn't matter how pure and clear you are energetically. If you don't open your mouth and if you don't get out there and tell the story and teach people about essential oils, your business isn't going to move. So I just love, sometime we got to make a video about that, I can't fit your story in the box. So just give me a number.
That's genius. So I guess, what is your number? Is it 1 time or is it 5? Like what was your answer for the week? Yeah,
totally.
That's awesome. Well, I think this is, a really good kind of sum up of how, how are we going out and finding leaders? We've talked a lot about it, these, maybe things that are in the way, things that are kind of holding us back. But at the end of the day, how crucial is working on ourselves. And I'd say I've learned that more this last year than anything else, because as we were preparing to move to presidential, I knew I couldn't get there until I was actually ready myself, right? Because it's a whole new realm of taking on and taking ownership of what you're creating. But it's for people who are silver going gold, gold going platinum. If you can't learn where you are now and what has to be learned before you move forward, you're going to remain stuck. And if that's being more upfront about the business, we've given some good tips on that. How confident are we in the business reflects how confident we are ourselves in the business,
Yeah.
But I love these tips. Thanks so much, Andy. And this
that reminds me of one of our team members. Can I just share one last thought?
Yeah.
One of our team members in Australia, Vanessa Ovens, Vanessa, she has completely shifted the language. So instead of talking about rank advancements, her whole team, they talk about soul advancements. And I love that. I love that subtle shift in paradigm. It's not about your outside world. It's about your inner world and the growth and the personal development. And so I probably doTERRA more than any other company embodies that, but I guess that's my final invitation to each of us, is rather than ask, what can I change on my outside? What can I change today on my inside? To be that leader, to be the inspiration that I want to see on the rest of the world. So be the change.
I love that. Thank you so much, Andy. This is so wonderful. And thanks for taking the time to be here. And I'm excited to be able to share this and to help other leaders hopefully this year as they move forward in their own businesses. So